Hello, Algebra 1 students. I will be going over the review for Unit 4. So first we have solving in standard form. So standard form, if you remember, is ax squared plus bx plus c. And when we're using standard form, our a is always going to be 1 for these problems. We're going to figure out what number adds to the middle and multiplies to our c. So our first example here is x squared plus 3x plus 2. I'm going to see what my factors of 2 are. The only factors of 2 I have are 1 and 2. 1 plus 2 does equal 3. So that is a valid answer. I'm going to make my 2 sets of parentheses. My variable always goes in front. My only options for values are 1 and 2. These symbols are both positive, so I'm adding in my equation, in my parentheses. My last step then is to take them out of the parentheses. And have them equal to 0. Here I'm adding, so in order to get rid of that I need to subtract or do the opposite. X equals a negative 1. Here I'm adding as well. I'm going to subtract x equals a negative 2. So those are my values for the first one. 1b then, I'm going to do the same process. So here I've got an 18 as my c value. And I'm going to see which values multiply to 18. So I have 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6, and that is it. I have a negative and a negative, which means that one of my symbols is going to be positive and one is going to be negative. I'm going to put my x's in front, and then I need to figure out which of my values will give me a negative 3 in the middle. So since I need to subtract based on my symbols, I need to figure out which of these values will give me a difference of 3. 18 minus 1 is 17, 9 minus 2 is 7, 6 minus 3 is 3. Now I need to figure out which number goes in which side of the parentheses. Since I have a negative 3, that negative needs to go with the larger value. So I'm going to have my 6 in back, my 3 in front. The best way to check your answers is to multiply them out. You can either use FOIL or the box method. If I'm using the box method, I'm going to have an x and a 3 on one side, x and a negative 6 on the other. X times x gives you x squared. X times a negative 6 gives you a negative 6x. Sorry, that's kind of small. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 6, negative 6 is negative 18. Then all of those values come out of the boxes and you simplify. These middle two terms are the only ones that you can simplify. So this becomes x squared minus 3x minus 18. And this answer matches this answer. So that means this is the correct pair of parentheses, binomials that I need. Again, I need to solve this. X plus 3 equals 0. X minus 6 equals 0. I'm subtracting 3 since I'm adding 3. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So this ends up being x equals a negative 3. Here I'm subtracting 6, so I need to add 6. What I'm left with is x equals 6. There was a typo on this one. It was written as a negative 28. It should have been positive 28. So here I have x squared minus 11x plus 28. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to figure out which of my values equal 28. And you can see I already kind of started. 1 times 28 will give me 28. 2 times 14 will give me 28. And 4 times 7 will give me 28. I'm going to start with my 2 sets of parentheses. My x is going back. Now I need to check my variables. That looks better. Sorry, that's kind of blurry. Not my variables, my symbols. Okay, so I have a negative here and a positive here. So the ways to get different values, a positive times a positive will give me a positive. A negative times a negative will give me a positive, and a positive times a negative will give me a negative. Since I have a positive value here, it's going to be one of these top ones. Since I have a negative, that's going to tell me that I have 2 negative symbols. Since I'm adding 2 negatives, I need to figure out which of these values will give me 11 when I add them together. My option then is 4 and 7. 4 goes in one, 7 goes in the other, doesn't matter which one's which. And then again, I'm going to solve for those. There was a typo on this one as well. So we are going to change this to 122 and focus on the factors of 40. My factors of 40 are 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, and 5 and 8. So I'm going to make my 2 sets of parentheses once again. My x's go in front right away. I'm adding. Both of these are addition, so both of these need to be addition. And now I need to figure out which of my values add to 22. My options are 2 and 20. And again, I'm going to solve for those x values. So what I'm left with is x equals a negative 2 and x equals a negative 20. All right, down here to e. So I have x squared minus a 7x minus 18. We already discussed the different values of 18 above. So we have 1 times 18, 2 times 9, and 3 times 6. I'm going to make my 2 sets of parentheses. Up here, actually, let's go back down here for a second. We have a negative and a negative. So my answer here needs to be negative. So one of my values is going to be positive and one's going to be negative. So I'm going to put my x here and x here. I'm going to have an addition and a subtraction. They can be reversed, it doesn't matter. Now I need to figure out, since I have a subtraction symbol, I'm going to be subtracting. So I need to figure out what's going to give me the difference of 7. So here, if I look back, 18 minus 1 will be 17. 9 minus 2 will be 7. 6 minus 3 will be 3. So I need to use 2 and 9. Now I need to figure out how to get that negative 7. Since I have a negative symbol, the negative, whatever symbol you have here typically goes with the larger value. So I have a negative, my 9 needs to go there, and my 2 needs to go there. Again, I'm going to solve for this. X plus 2 equals 0. X minus 9 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. X equals -2. Add 9 here. X equals 9. So that first section is done. All right. Next I have solving based on that template. So if you remember our template, we have a parentheses, a number, your variable, plus or minus, a number, and then we repeat that. A number, a variable, plus or minus, a number. So this is how my template's gonna go. And if you notice, these are very similar. The only difference is I don't have a number in here, but I do actually have a number there. It's an invisible 1. So I'm going to start by writing my parentheses. Now I need to see what information I have. So I have a 2x squared plus 17x plus 21. So here I have a 2. So this 2 needs to stay with my variables in front. Sorry, this is hard to do holding the phone by yourself. Okay, I need to look at the factors of 2 then. So the only factors of 2 are 2 and 1. So this becomes a 2, that becomes a 1. Then I need to figure out what are my factors of, sorry, trying to fix this so it doesn't look so crazy. What are my factors of 21? So my factors of 21 are 1 and 21, or 3 and 7. Those are my only options. Now I need to figure out how all of these numbers work together to get me to 17. So if I just start by working with the numbers, I can do 2 times 1, which would give me 2, plus 21, which would give me 23. That doesn't work. 2 times 21 is 42. That's way bigger than 17, so that probably won't work. 2 times 3 will be 6. 6 plus 7 is 13. That also doesn't work. 2 times 7 is 14. Plus 3 is 17. So that's what I need to do. So since I'm multiplying my 2 times my 7 needs to go back here. My 3 needs to go here, and I will factor that. I will multiply that to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Again, I have addition symbols in both places, so these need to be addition. So essentially, when you're working this out, you need to figure out how these are multiplying and working together to get you to the answer that you want. So when I was multiplying my values, I was remembering I have this 2 here, and then you can either use FOIL or the box method. I will use FOIL quick. So 2x times a 1x is going to give me a 2x squared. 2x plus 7 gives me a 14x. 3 times 1 is 3. The x comes along, so that's 3x. 3 times 7 is 21. This then simplifies. These two values simplify, so I have 2x squared plus 17x plus 21. So that's the exact same thing I did when I was thinking through these numbers. I was multiplying the 2 times one of the values and adding that single value that was going to be multiplied times 1. So I know for sure these are the values I need. I've checked them to make sure they're valid, which is what you should be doing on all of your problems. Now I need to solve for this. 2x plus 3 equals 0, and x plus 7 also equals 0. I'm going to subtract 3 because I need to work with what's not directly affecting the variable first. 2x equals a negative 3. I'm dividing everything by 2. X equals a negative 3/2. Here I'm adding 7, so I need to subtract. x equals a negative 7. And that is page 1. And I've got 20 minutes left of this hour. Might have to make this into 2 videos. Okay. All right, so we are going to continue doing the same thing. So I'm going to make 2 sets of parentheses. Here, my starting value, my leading coefficient is a 3. 3 is prime, so the only way I can separate that is a 3 times 1. My x's, because you always need your variables. And now I need to start figuring out the factors of 42. There are a lot of factors of 42. I'm just going to go in order. 1 times 42, 2 times 21, 3 times 14, 4 does not work, 5 does not work, and 6 times 7. So now I need to do the same thing again. I need to figure out which of these numbers working with this 3 will give me a 15 in the middle. So let me see. And I also have a negative here. So one of these needs to be negative and one of these needs to be positive. So I might actually have quite a large, oh, I see it, a large value. So if I do 3 times 1, that's 3. 42 minus 3 would be 39. That one doesn't work. 3 times 42 would be 126. That's way too big. All right, so this one doesn't work. We can cross that out. All right, let's do the next one. 3 times 2 is 6. 21 minus 6 is 15. Okay, that works. We didn't have to go too far. Okay, so now I know my 2 goes there, and my 21 goes here. My symbol for my middle value is positive, so I need to make my larger number positive. So don't always look to see which one of these is bigger. It depends on all of your pieces. So 3 times 2 is 6. 21 times 1 is 21. So this value is larger, but perhaps these two combined could have been larger, and that's where your symbol needed to go. All right, let's keep going. Now I have 4x squared minus 17x plus 15. I'm going to make my 2 sets of parentheses. These next two can be a little bit tricky, and the reason why is because you have a 4 here. So the factors of 4 are 4 times 1 or 2 times 2. So these could either be a 4 and a 1 or a 2 and a 2. You need to work with what you've got. Now I'm going to look to see what my C value is. So I have 15. So my numbers for 15 are 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm just going to work with my values to see how they can work together and how to get a negative 17 in the middle. So let's start with the 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 15 would be 15. 4 plus 15 is 19. That one does not work. I'm going to work my way down. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 15 is 30. 4 plus 30, that one doesn't work either. Let's keep moving on. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 5 is 5. 12 plus 5 is 17. So those are the values that I'm going to need. So I need a 4 and a 1 in front. We said 4 times 3 was 12. 3 needs to go there. My 5 needs to go there. Here I'm subtracting. I'm adding, and here I'm subtracting. Since I'm subtracting here and adding here, that means that both of these need to be negative. So I'm going to put in my negative, add my variables, and there is the answer. What did I forget to do? I did it there. Forgot to do it on these. All right, so I'm going to go back up here and solve for my x's. I have 3x plus 21 equals 0, and x minus 2 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 21. 3x equals a negative 21 divided by 3. X equals a negative 7. Here I'm subtracting 2, so I'm going to add 2. X equals 2. All right, let's do the same thing for this problem. 4x minus 5 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. I'm going to add 5. 4x equals 5 divided by 4. X equals 5/4. Then I'm going to add 3 here. 3. 15 minutes. Okay. All right, so like I said, we're going to do the same thing here. I have a 4. We already said the factors of 4 are 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. And then I need to look at my factors of 16. My factors of 16 are 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 3 does not work, and 4 times 4. I'm going to set up my parentheses. Let's go ahead and add in our variables because I forgot before. All right, let's see. I can do 1 times 1, which is 1, 4 times 16, that doesn't work. 1 times 16, 4 times 1, 16 minus 4 would give me 12. All right, let's start with that one. Okay. So I need a 4 here. And a 16 here, and that's going to be a 1 and a 1. So I'm just using the different numbers. So 4, I need to make that into a positive because I have a negative 12 here, which means that my negative needs to go with my larger number. And if we need to check that, because maybe we're not sure, and on the test I'm expecting you to double check all of these. 4x times 1x gives me a 4x squared. 4x plus 1, 4x times a positive 1 is 4x. Negative 16 times a positive 1 is a negative 16x. And a negative 16 times a positive 1 is a negative 16. So you're left with 4x squared. These middle two terms simplify. Minus 12x minus 16. So I have the same answer that I started with. Now I can solve these. 4x minus 16 equals 0, and x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to add 16 to both sides of my first one. 4x equals 16. Divide by 4, x equals 4. Here I'm going to subtract 1, x equals a negative 1. What time do we got? Okay, I'm going to break this up into 2 videos. Yep, we're going to break it up into 2 videos because I am running out of time during 5th hour. So I will do this last problem here, and then I will do the rest of them during 7th hour or whenever you end up watching this. All right, last problem. So I'm looking at my front values, my A, and my last value, my C. My front value, my leading coefficient is 2. The only way to multiply 2 is 2 times 1. My variables go into right behind those. Now I need to figure out 36. So my factors of 36 are 1 and 36. Nope. Sorry, I got 2 on the brain. 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9. I think there's another one. Nope, that doesn't work. And 6 times 6. So again, I need to figure out how I'm going to get a 17 in the middle. So I can do 2 times 1 is 2 plus 36, that gives me 38. 2 times 36 is 72, way too big, so that one doesn't work. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 18 is 32. 2 times 18 is 36, that one's too big. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 12 is 18. That one's too big, but we're getting closer. 2 times 12 is 24, way too big. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 9 is 17. That is the value we need. So in order to make sure these multiply properly, since I'm multiplying the 2 and the 4, the 2 needs to go in that parentheses, the 4 needs to come back there, the 9 goes with that one. I'm adding in both of these, so I'm going to add both of those. Now I'm going to pull those out. 2x plus 9 equals 0, and x plus 4 equals 0. I'll solve. And those are my answers. All right, that is it for problems 1 and 2. I will continue the rest of them 7th period, and I will continue to post for your assistance. Stay tuned.